In this video, I'm going to cover the concept of the apex predator and the false delusion or illusion that has been casted over the common human being to assume that of all creation, of all existence, that they, in this current time and age, are what they would assume to be the apex predator, which is a false narrative which has lulled them into a false state of security, a false state of dependency on feeling that essence of power and authority, which then automatically turns off the defense mechanism that every human being, every living creature naturally has, as if you see it in nature, because they know there is danger right around the corner. But it seems the system itself has created this false narrative that human beings are the apex predator, and therefore there is nothing coming to hunt them or give them danger other than the average sickness or state or a criminal, which has subconsciously, biologically turned off the defense mechanism, the critical thinking, and the observation pondering mechanism that the human being is supposed to have. It is the same type of biological turning off that is happening with the world is going to end in 12 years, so stop having babies, we're all going to die. That fear porn, that constant trauma on a biological level with the intelligent mechanism that is the human being, it can probably, on some level, the rulers and the masters and the studiers of the human being probably understand that it will turn off the reproduction system, and that is why you'll have a massive problem in the future generations of having babies, not yes with the sperm count, not yes with children and teens choosing to say that they are not going to be having babies. This chemical warfare and this constant trauma alone will do this to them. Now, in that same understanding, thinking and assuming you are the apex predator gives you a blind spot, and this has a lot to do with these archonic, reptilian, baby harvesting, baby raping, pedophile creatures that see the human beings as cattle and sheep to be herded to the slaughter. The average human being doesn't think of themselves in that terms, so they cannot assume that there is a group of people that are purposely giving them fake news, purposely traumatizing them, creating false flag events in order to take away their guns and keep them in a cattle-like situation. The average person not assuming that there is a higher being, a higher creature, stronger, more capable, more of an apex predator than the human being. Since that narrative, since that thought pattern does not even exist in their mind, they cannot even be able to conceive or go near that level of thinking and pondering. And that was a systematical calculation and programming that was instilled into the mass population. Once they realize that is not the case, there are more intelligent, more higher realms of life forms on this existence in this current moment, then they will start critically thinking, they will know where they fit in place, they will be more rational in their actions. And I believe this scene from the Avatar will be very important regarding how the apex predator think and how you can be lulled into a false state of security. And this movie, Avatar, in itself is very important because it gives you the idea of secrets that they were releasing to the mass population a very long time ago. If you want to watch the documentary, there are no trees or there are no mountains on flat Earth. I believe there are no trees is more correct. But if you have your mind open and you're critically thinking and you understand the concept of what it is we live on, you can look at these photos of what they call mountain tops are and understand on a larger realm there is no difference to them than the giant trees that used to exist on this planet, and someone came along and they started cutting them down the same way lumbers come here to the native lands, came over to the Western world, a new era, cut down these massive 30-foot or 30 wide range trees, which were giant at the time. But back in the ancient days, it seems like someone came to this planet and cut down the even larger trees that we call mountain stumps, or Devil's Mountain, Devil's Ridge, and all these other things that we have been falsely led into assuming these are tree stumps. Now, this is the same storyline that exists in the movie The Avatar, the concept that the ever-living trees, the giant mountains, and the American military industry came over in that movie anyway, and they cut down all the trees because they were trying to harvest some sort of mineral ore that was underneath the tree of life at that time. This is exactly what happened in this human existence, this human realm. Might be a little too far-fetched depending on what level of the truth-seeking frequency you are on, but eventually you will understand that most of the things we know are disclosures in the Hollywood world, and they've been subtly putting it right in your face so that you can subconsciously understand it, assume it's fake, and never even ponder on it for yourself. So we'll watch this clip and I'll talk a little bit more about how tapping into the concept of being an apex predator and assuming this false sense of security can lull you into a state of deception.
I needed their help, and they needed mine. But to ever face them again, I was gonna have to take it to a whole new level. Sometimes your whole life boils down to one insane move. There's something we gotta do. You're not gonna like it. Way I had it figured, Taruk is the baddest cat in the sky. Nothing attacks him. Easy boy. So why would he ever look up?
And that is what we must focus on, the idea that we are the apex predator, nothing can touch us, there's nothing more smarter than us, more sophisticated, looks at us the same way we look at farm animals. And that false idea that has entered our mind is what allows us and enables us to assume
That was just a theory.
that we do not have to be in a state of constantly checking our backs, constantly wondering if there is danger coming from behind us or above us. And if you had proper establishments, if you had proper intellectual education systems to raise the young children, to raise the next generations of human beings, to be able to think on that realm, then we wouldn't be stuck in the scenario where we are, where there is high-level elite human beings who are kidnapping children, 800,000 a year from America alone, harvesting them, taking their baby parts, raping them, polluting them. Now there's stories coming out today of the old Epstein children and slaves that are saying that Epstein would shake of joy before raping her because that's how excited and happy he got. These are animalistic creatures who are disguised in human skin so that the other human beings who see them do not turn on their intuitive defense mechanisms because a false base of visual association of this is the same creature as me, there's no danger here, and that has been induced into the population with all this indoctrination that human beings are the most powerful, most apex, not the individual, but as a collective species, they are the most powerful and most apex creature. Therefore, they do not have to wonder, they don't have to worry about aliens, they don't have to worry about demons, they don't have to worry about creatures that could treat them the same way that a human being would treat an ant or a rat or a pig or a cow, because to these creatures who are on the food chain much higher than human beings do look at humans on that level of low functioning, low vibrational level. Once we understand that, we can transcend that level of forced indoctrination of lulling and appeasement and false sense of security, so we can start activating our light chakras, activating our critical thinking, the pineal gland, becoming more intelligent, becoming more aware, and not allowing these false narratives and false educational systems written by the rulers to train us how to think about life, how to think about ourselves, and what it is the narrative we tell ourselves. Now, on a basic, we tell us we're the apex predator, that we are human beings, we are the powerfulest, but on an individual level, based on what kind of life you went through, what kind of background, what kind of thinking patterns that the system matrix has put down or put you into, we are told in the average sense we are transformed from animals. There's nothing great about us. We are just thinking, breathing. We get information through knowledge and books, and we have to live through this life by working, making money, and then dying, getting old and sick, and disappearing. This is the basic story of the most average human being. But think about the story that we tell ourselves. If we can tell ourselves that somehow we magically got $10 billion tomorrow, the way we feel about ourselves would completely change. We would have a little authority about us, a little respect, a little power in the way we interact with other people. In that same sense, if you were told tomorrow that someone old in your lifestyle, foreign to your timeline, died, they had royalty in their blood, and now you are heir to a throne, you would feel a certain level of essence of authority and royalty in your blood. Now imagine if you were always born as a child to royalty back in those ancient knights and kings and royalty times. You just happen to be the child of royalty and you were always raised that way. The functioning programming system in the back of your mind constantly told you that is your essence. You would walk in that essence, you would walk in that light, that vibration, you would interact with the world with that thought and that story that you tell yourself about you in that state. Now imagine if you are the inheritance to the kingdom of God and you truly had that essence and belief in your system. Would that not completely and utterly change the way you interact with life, the way you interact with information, the way you see yourself, and therefore those thought patterns that you have in your mind do affect the dimensional and frequency levels of reality. We are told those things don't matter, but the thoughts you tell yourself, the thoughts that constantly go through your mind over time, throughout the day, hour by hour, day by day, month by month, does affect your entire consciousness, your energy, and your frequency fields, and that is what they want to destroy. That is why they tell you this whole you're made from animals, there's nothing great about you, you came from nothing, you will go to nothing. Entire life and space and reality is all just random events taking place. All you're meant to do is fuck, feed yourself, die, and disappear into the winds. Maybe have some children here and there, but they're irrelevant, and eventually they will die and disappear just like you. But now you can't have children because of climate change and all these things. These narratives, these stories that they've implanted, and we've sold or we bought the stories that are sold to us, and they have changed the realm of existence more than we can ever understand. In that way, if we can get in tune with the real story of our each individual essence and see the world as if it was our story that's being written, not because we've gotten these stories from the outside 3D world and they've infested our thinking patterns and now they dictate our reality. We should understand everything that has been coming in from the outside world is part of the matrix system that has corroded and corrupted the operating program that functions that we call reality, and we are able to rewrite this reality so that every moment of every waking second of your life, everything revolves around you in the sense that you are the creator and the dictator of your existence. It might seem like a very small switch of how the perception of life goes, but over time, over the hours, over the days, over the weeks, over the months, once you can tap in to that way of thinking, you become the controller of your reality. You can call it manifestation or the secret of life or all those other things, but when you change the perception of how you view life is happening around you, to you, or for you, it also affects what you are capable of doing, the authority you have about yourself, the energy that is given to other individuals. We think it is information, knowledge, and data bits that changes people's minds, that changes the scenario around us. But in reality, it is the essence, the will power that we infuse with the words that we share with this outside 3D matrix world that can change hearts and change minds and change realities more than we truly understand. And that is the knowledge that they're keeping from the average human herd so that they don't ever come into power or come into knowledge of their true power. That way the rulers that know this true secret behind the scenes keep that for themselves, and they never want to spread it to the average masses. On some level, there's some truth to it because you do not want the average masses who are incapable of thinking on those realms to have all this magical power. It's like giving a child a laser weapon or a time freezing machine for no reason. Eventually, each individual has to come into that knowledge, that awareness, that self understanding based on their own growth. But in this time, this era, this 5D shift that is taking place where these aliens are coming to fruition, authority based, rules based, military based knowledge is telling you that aliens do exist. You need to accept it. This is the reality, and they're changing the very concept of human life as we know it. In this time, it's good to share this knowledge, share this change of perception, so that you do not think you're an apex predator out of ignorance, but you are able to create your own manifestation, your own image, your own concept of what life is. In that way, you are not trapped in this ever long lasting slave like herd human farm that has been invented by the people that came here originally to harvest the trees. Imagine how large these trees truly were, what kind of energy was coming out of them, what kind of reality that existed. If the trees were that large in this realm called Earth, imagine what other creatures were here that were going along with that same realm. We are but insects, insignificant grass that is mowed down and disappeared by the gods and the creatures and the rulers of this realm. Once we understand that, we can put ourselves in the proper order of things, come into light, go along and align our frequencies with the real order of nature, the real order of essence. We then are able to take in that life force energy, and by taking in that life force energy, we empower ourselves to go along with the storyline that's being built for this generation, for this existence. And in that way, we will be able to manifest the peace on earth, the greatness, and the amazing things that are about to come, and the story that is being written that many are incapable of fully understanding. Yes, how magical, wonderful, and amazing it truly, truly is.